Good morning, NIO fam. It is 10:06 a.m. and it's Laser with another weekend video analysis here to share with you where I see NIO going into next week. I just got back from my morning walk and I feel energized and I feel great. If you missed my morning tweet where I talked about going for a walk and you're not following me on Twitter, stop what you're doing. Check the description in the video below. It's in all of my videos. Follow me on Twitter. I will post updates from time to time, which can be very helpful. Yeah, I just finished my walk, and part of my tweet was essentially saying that everybody should take some time out of their day to go out, get fresh air, get some sunlight, go for a walk, especially if you have your investment in the stock market on NIO. I mean, anywhere. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a new investor at this point, or if you're a cryptocurrency investor, or if you're in tech, or if you're in anything. It was a pretty bad and red day for pretty much almost all holders. That can actually put a serious toll on your mental health. And so mental health is really, really important. You need to stay on top of that. Going for walks can give you an outlet, keeps your brain nice and flowing, keeps your body healthy. So can't recommend it enough. So if you haven't done it, and especially if you haven't done any walking at all, go outside. If it's cold where you're living, which it is where I am, put on a winter jacket, put on a sweater, go out and go for that walk, soak in that fresh air, come back. Let me know how you're feeling. You'll feel like a million times better. I don't miss it. I go for my walks every single day, and it's like clockwork for me. Having said that, if you're new here, by the way, and we just want to just get this out of the way, we drop one of these videos once per week. You can expect it on a Saturday morning. Today's Saturday, 10 a.m. And what I say, and I say it all the time, if you're making a big financial decision or you're doing and you're trying to make a big decision, do your own due diligence, do your own research. I'm just a guy who loves the stock. I love sharing my thoughts as to where I see the stock going. I may be wrong, but I'm not here to try and say I'm right. I'm not here to try and say I'm wrong. What I'm trying to do is tell you what I see. And my goal for today's video is to try and figure out where this bottom is going to come in at, when the momentum will shift back to the bulls, because it's been nothing but bulls for like 3 months from July all the way into October. That was like 90-day rally. That was with nothing but the bulls. And it looks like the bears have kind of come forward a little bit, but not really. It's just, it's barely, this is nothing. And I want to just, before I begin and do the analysis, I want to talk about the bears. And the bears, and if you don't already know this, I've been kind of charting and doing analysis on NIO since 2023. It caught my attention right around here. This is when I've been kind of paying attention, right around this rally. And I've been following it this entire time, which was how many years now have I been following NIO? Almost 3 years, actually. Okay. It's 2.5. And let me tell you something. The bears, they can get a little pesky and annoying. And it's important to realize not to mistake some bulls for bears. Some bulls call for downside, but then their longer term price targets are upside. Those to me aren't bears. The bears are the ones that are like saying it's doomed. It's going back to $3 or $2 or $1. It's going to be bankrupt, blah, 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 blah. Those to me those are the bears when I'm referring to the bears. And they're still out there. Believe it or not, they're still out there. And I'm sure they annoy the heck out of most of the bulls. Anywho's, I do want to actually drop this analysis. So far, it's playing out almost the way that I had been calling it. I hate saying that I called it because I've gotten call outs wrong in the past before. So I don't want to be the one to be like, see, I told you, you should have been watching me. You would have known. And there's people out there that try and do that. So I try and stop myself from doing that. I truly do. But it just so happens that this call out that I have been making has been playing out. Now, what was that call out? That call out was that I believe that this move that we had in November was a lower high and that we would get lower. We would see lower lows kind of come in. And it did just that. And the reason for that is I said, okay, we had momentum kind of break to the low side, to the bottom side, and it was kind of rolling over, giving you that lower high retest. Now it did something really, 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 really fantastic here now, because now we have this trend line. Okay. We have that confirmed trend line right there. Apologies if I'm sniffling. I just came from walking outside. It was cold. My nose is a little bit runny. Now we technically have like a descending support here as well. And what you're going to find, actually, let me see if this works here. I want to see if this works. There we go. That's not bad. I like that. So there's our parallel channel here. Very likely, what you were likely to see, in my opinion, is the bounce is more than likely to come in roughly around the bottom of this trend line. And that's support. Like, you're going to find buyers come in right around there if it does get down there. Now, it looks like buyers were stepping up. And perhaps it's going to give you a little bit of a lower high. It's dropped quite a bit. How much did NIO drop from this high? From 740 to 650? That was a 22% drop. So we could see potentially 634 or even 657, like a bounce next week, because it's honestly, it's crazy oversold right now. 20% drop is, you don't just go down in a straight line. You might get that bounce into 650 is a nice round number, right? I would imagine you would get that maybe up to 676 potentially. I mean, like, if this thing is spicy and it wants to go right to the top, maybe back to 7. Like, we can get a spicy rally right back up to 7. And that kind of almost makes this into this nice little like bull flag that's forming. And I still think that if it does that, I think there would be one more bounce lower to potentially $5 around there. Where is it? Christmas? That's where I can see it. $5.50, $5. I think that's a possibility. You want to entertain yourself to this idea, and of course, then you would get your, your bottom. Now, I could show you a couple different examples. Now, before I begin, I've had some people tell me like, well, if it goes that low, it's done and it's over and it's totally bearish. I've seen the charts. I don't agree with it, and I take you back to the Robinhood chart, and I ask whoever believes that if it drops down to 5 to go ahead and chart Robinhood for me and explain to me, and we're going to do this again. Explain to me how exactly, if it was so over, if it drops that low. Explain this to me. You can see we've pulled up Robinhood so many times. Explain to me, how did Robinhood, I'm just going to erase this all. How is it that Robinhood dropped, and we'll do this log scale. How is it that it dropped 50% from the previous highs and it did nothing to impact it? In fact, that drop, by the way, was a 25% drop. A 25% drop from the peak. It declined 25. Was that number right? About, yeah, around 25%. Only to make new highs and higher lows. And I'm sure it was also right around here. You had bears saying, yep, this thing is toast. It's going back down. You want to know what happened over here and why it was so unique? Let's look at the weekly chart. Maybe some of you guys forget. But our weekly chart right over here, if you recall, broke out above our midline on the velocity. And it made a higher high. And it made a higher low right here. Notice that. It bounced, made a higher low. And of course, what did we get in the price? Higher highs, higher lows. People tend to freak out on these corrections. Do you want to see what it looks like on NIO? Let's take a look together here now on the weekly. It looked incredible the last time I looked at it. Take a look at that. Like, are you serious? You've got all this space here and you're worried whether or not this thing can make a higher low. This thing, NIO, has so much space to move and still make a higher low. And what that would actually imply is this on a bigger and larger time frame, this is just kind of your correctional move. What do we know about correctional moves? Because this is one thing you don't actually see quite often is people calling dates or times and timelines. And this is one thing that I have paid attention to on NIO over the past 2.5, 3 years. I've noticed that a lot of these declines on NIO tend to last between 3 and 4 months. In fact, it's happened so frequently and so often that, did you know that 100% of every single downtrend on NIO has lasted at least 3 months, 100% of them. And some of them lasting as long as 5 months, but you would get at least 3 months on like that downside move. The only exception was here. And that was like, and it didn't make new highs until the 3rd month anyways. That was the only exception. How long, by the way, have we been now in a downtrend? This is important to like, let's put this into perspective. We're going to use our date tool just to really help paint the picture. We've been in a downtrend for 42 days, halfway there. My thesis and my theory is that this bottom will come in right around Christmas time. And it won't go in a straight line either. That's BS. Anyone who tells you this thing is going to crater and go down a straight line is bullshit. I don't think that's going to happen. So what you're going to likely see, in my opinion, and my theory was this: if we take the bottom of this rally right to the top, you get 86 days. Now, if I just were to take this date tool, and I'm going to clear up my chart here. This is important because nobody's really calling dates, but I am. I'm calling dates here. And I shouldn't say nobody. I know there are other people calling dates, but here I am. I'm trying to call some dates out because if you have the dates in mind, it also, it just makes things easier to manage your expectations on timelines. Sometimes when you're watching the stock every single day and you're like, is this thing finally going to freaking bottom and run? And you don't know. And I'm trying to help manage those expectations. Now, if I were to drag this, notice it stays at the total. It's 61 bars is what it is. That stays always the same. The days change because sometimes weekends and how they count the days. But here we go. 61 trading days. If it were to give you an equal length downtrend, and part of my theory was that halfway into it, which was right here, 30 to 31. And I think I called this out last week. I said on Friday, November the 14th. What is today's date? Today's the 15th, right? I said that's when your rally would, and that's roughly. I mean, like if I were to go 32, maybe I got the timing off a little bit, but just roughly. It honestly looks like you're going to get that bounce, to be honest. Just by looking at the big hammer candle, it looks like you might get a bounce here and a lift from that move. If I were to give you a lower high, you could see up to 7. So what I can see possibly happening coming into, and I haven't looked at the shorter time frames yet, and we'll take a look at that to see if it's bullish. But I would suspect around $7, a bounce back up into 7, potentially next week. Potentially, it doesn't have to happen. At this point, my eyes truly are set on this date right here. End of the year, around Christmas, because what I would imagine happens is it'll stall out, go sideways for a bit here, like it did up the top here. People are like, "Oh my God, is it going to go? Is it going to go?" And I don't think it will. That's just my thesis because of the timing. And I think it'll continue lower into potentially 5 and 550. Now, because we have, and you'll get your bottom. That's what I think is likely to happen. And like, this is what it would look like if I were to draw out a trend line. Kind of looks like a real chart, right? Like it kind of looks like it, that we could see something like that, maybe. Now, the only thing that you guys as bulls you want to keep your eye on is you want to keep your eye kind of on this descending support trend line. Oftentimes when you see it tag like this and it made a lower low, it could it may want to try and like give you that one big soup. So I'm not going to rule out like something drastic, like it wants to maybe take out this candle. Even if it did that at $5, let's erase everything for just 1 second here and bring your attention to the Fibonacci for a second. Take a look for a second. Again, comparing to Robinhood, the Robinhood fractal. Here, I'm going to go right to that bottom. From bottom to top. That Robinhood fractal on the 50% is 517. Now you can see it lost 654. So I mean, maybe it makes sense. You come up into 654 next week, and you continue your descent into 520, and potentially the golden pocket. Potentially, if it's really going to be like a possibility, if it did do that, and I don't think it will, but if it does, and I'm not going to rule that out, if it does go down to 455, will it be the end of the world? No, it won't. The chart will still, in my eyes, remain bullish. Again, I bring you back to the weekly chart. All that it'll do is it just brings this lower. It brings this lower, and then eventually you're going to get the swing up. That's what's going to happen. And if it did this, I want to play devil's advocate, okay? Just because I think this could calm some bulls down. If it did this, I'm playing devil's advocate here. If we did, for whatever stupid reason, by Christmas ends up going to $4.50, which is, I don't want to rule that out, but let's just say it does do that. Okay. Imagine this from the top to bottom. It goes from, what was the top? $8.03 to $4.50. A total move of like a 44% correction. If it did that, and if it not only did that, but let's just say, okay, it's over, the run's over, you're not going to get this parabolic run, and it's not going to be done, you'll still get the dead cat bounce. The dead cat bounce, as we all know, likes to go to the golden pocket. If this were like it, I'm just trying to say, and I don't think it is, just everything that I'm saying, I don't think anything it is. I think it's going to go way higher, but I'm playing devil's advocate. You would still get that bounce move that would take you back up to that golden pocket. It would still give you a large bounce. Nothing goes down in a straight line. Nothing goes up in a straight line. And so I hope that I don't know if that calms people's nerves down about like, oh my God, if it actually did drop that. Personally, it's NIO. I've been watching NIO now for the past 2.5 and 3 years. And when you think it's bottomed, and you think it's ready to go, I'm telling you, this stock is tricky as hell. It tends to try and really shake people out and push down lower. I'm just saying there is that possibility. Now, if I were to draw out this trend line on this bottom trend line, take a look at that. You could see something like this. I'm just saying, golden pocket, and then you have the ascending trend line, and it takes you, okay, that's March. That date doesn't make sense. It would have to be December. $4, $4.20. I mean, I don't want to rule out this move. It's a very much a possibility, but it wouldn't happen in a straight line. And as it looks like now, let's just look on the shorter time frames. Are we going to get that bounce? I'm sure that's what you guys are also curious about. So when I look at the 4-hour time frame, are we getting any bullish divergence? Are we getting any slowdowns from the selling pressure? So on the 4-hour time frame, here, I'll talk about the good and the bad on the 4-hour time frame. So the bad is we're below the midline, right? We actually got like this move that I talked about where it broke above and then it broke under. Now the bad is that the velocity made a lower low. So that's the bad. That's one thing that's bad. I'll talk about the good now. Here's the good. Last time it was this oversold on the 4-hour time frame was April, the crash of April, this big crash of April. So, and what it was the following move is you got like this giant like whipsaw move that bounced right back. Now the bad is that because it made a lower low, despite even if you get that bounce, oh crap, I don't know if my audio is working. Something just made a weird noise. I hope not. I hope it is. I hope my audio is still working. Geez. I'll have to finish this video to figure this out. And if it's not, I don't know what to say. And so if it goes, like I said, makes a higher high, you could get that extra low. You might get that lower low that comes in. So to me, I don't see the sellers have slowed down yet on the shorter time frames. We need to see a higher low. Now, there's a couple other things that we want to see. We want to see trend lines break. Now, I know the velocity has broken out already here. Look at that. This might be a shakeout here, so that's great. The fact that it's broken out of one of these trend lines, it did break back under. So it's going to need some time to possibly bounce back up, and it breaks back over. 2 hours. Are we seeing some slowdown? Okay. Some good things here that I'm seeing here. A couple of good things. Erased all my drawings. What's really good is we now have price moving lower, velocity moving higher. We also have our, yes, on the 2 hours, our 200-day moving average made a lower low, which kind of also made this kind of meant like a short rally. But here's something very interesting. If we can get that positive lift, if we can get that positive lift, and I think we will, and if it moves up sharply on Monday and we get that reversal, what you're going to get is that higher low on the 200-day moving average. And each time that we've seen that happen, you've gotten really positive price action. So far, we've gotten a lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. And if it makes that higher low finally, you could actually see this like consolidation and bottoming formation start to form. It could be. It might take a while, but it could be. It could be forming like this bottom where you kind of bottom out. So I'm trying to see that the positive here. So there's a possible hope of it possibly making a higher. Now, if it does make a lower low, and if our 200 moving average makes a lower low, this just confirms that if the bounce that we do get is going to be basically a counter trend rally where it's going to sell off as well. You can't get super excited if you start seeing it rise back up to $6.50 or even $7. Not just yet. Hourly. All right. What do we have on the hourly? Hourly is looking interesting. You can see it's been attempting like crazy to break through on the velocity. It hasn't broken out of this downtrend, but you can actually see finally our 200-day moving average is curling. So it looks like it wants to almost build a base here. It's slowing down finally, and you're getting some momentum. It's taken out that previous high on that velocity, and it's curling up. I could see us rallying early into next week, actually, and getting that relief bounce, actually. I could see that coming. I could totally see that coming, but nothing to scream home about. Let me give you some things to compare it with. So when we were here, we also were around here. Still made lower lows, but you still got to move higher, but not like a tremendous amount higher. It made lower highs. So this I see happening. I see another lower high forming. And I think it's just going to be all about timing. And if this thing is going to explode, it just makes sense. December, January. That's what I believe. December and January. Hang tight. I'm trying to tell this to you guys because some of you might be thinking and watching, oh man, like I really just want, maybe some of you are thinking, I just want to just go up and get out. Like I'm freaking sick of it. Like I don't want to get off this roller coaster ride. I think it's like, this is healthy. This is a healthy move. It's a correctional move. You gotta be able to stomach that. And it looks pretty healthy. Like you look at the big picture, it doesn't look too bad. It's not too bad at all, actually. And when I look at the velocity, and this was one thing that I will remind you guys, and I talked about this before, and how I knew this rally was going to be short was I said on the 2-hour time, on the 24-hour time frame, we are still below it. We're still below that, which made me feel like on bigger time frames we're not yet ready. eventually it's going to break back above it. And when it does, because this trend line corresponds, it corresponds with this trend line, eventually, no matter where we bottom, whether we bottom at 550, even if we bottom today, but even if we bottomed at 450, wherever the bottom comes in, you have that magnet that's going to take you right back in there when this is done. And if you're looking for a prime example, this is kind of a rare setup that I see. People see, oh yeah, it's bearish divergence. Bulls are getting exhausted, but they also leave behind this resistance line so that when it's time to run again, it's time to come and retest that trend line and come right back up. This is a beautiful and rare setup. I can show you two examples specifically. I've done this and I've shared this before, but I want to share this as examples for you guys to realize that I'm not just talking out of my ass. These are things that I've seen time and time again. I'm going to show you AMD. You can even see I drew this. I've showed this before. I've showed this multiple times before, where you've gotten this rare setup on where, and you can't quite see it, but the price made higher highs, but the velocity made lower lows. And when you finally broke out and made a pullback, where did it whipsaw right back up to? In fact, it whipsawed right above that. AMD went and made a 140% rally despite dropping. And notice it still made higher highs and higher lows. It was just an elongated bull flag, right? And this, by the way, went to the golden pocket. And this, by the way, this entire bull flag from top to bottom took 4 months. That took 94 bars from top to bottom. And for those that were in AMD. So that just took time. And just by using this indicator, we would have been able to been like, oh, something's changed right over here. And it would have given you that signal like, hey, it's almost go time, ready to go. And I'm going to be able to give you that signal, that same signal. Now, let me give you another example. Maybe this is, you're thinking to myself, this is just a one-off, like, Laser's just being, he found one example. I'm going to show you SoFi. SoFi is another example. I like SoFi because SoFi is a stock that got pummeled to the ground and it basically went right back into all-time highs. And I love this stock. I love this stock. And not only that, it made the exact same beautiful setup where buyers, and I'm going to point out the arrows, pay attention, where we got higher highs on the price, but we ended up getting lower highs on our velocity. So if I were to draw that out, and I were to draw, and prepare to be amazed, I was to draw this trend line, and despite, let's see, where is this? Despite SoFi giving you a dip right into the golden pocket, despite it doing that, where did it go? Right back to test resistance. Where was resistance? The resistance, as you can see right over here, where it's like, whoa, broke. Where did we go? We went right back here. I can find you, and I don't want to actually say thousands, but I can probably find you a handful more of these examples where this plays out over and over and over again. And so this is beautiful. Now, notice if we were to go to back to NIO, I believe that is going to play out wherever this bottom is, I don't know where the bottom is going to be. What I do know, and this is a good review for all of you, remember this, okay? Very good review. Do not forget this. Why can't I click this? There we go. There we go. Good review. You want to know what's very interesting? And we talked about these Fibonacci levels. Why are these Fibonacci levels very important? The IPO high was $14.39. The IPO low was $1.16. And what did it do? it created very significant Fibonacci levels. The bottom, by the way, I'm going to point them out. The bottom in April actually happened at the 0.382. This whole base that took place here happened at $4.09, a huge range. And where did it get rejected? Right around the golden pocket here, the golden pocket, which was 596. That's exactly where we are right now. And notice how it just came shy of $8.40. That's a next big level. And above that, you got a breakaway to 1439. And you can just, I mean, if you want to time that and be like, yeah, it's definitely going to go there, right? You could say by February 20th. Here's a bold call out, guys. But basically, right after Valentine's Day, you're going to get your 1439. I can see that actually happening. And take a look also, where did this bounce come in, by the way? That this bottom actually bounced off the golden pocket. Like, that's actually very bullish. And so I could totally see the buyers are coming in here just by looking at Fibonacci as a review. 596 is a big level. But if it does what I think it's going to do, up to 650, maybe 7. Your next big level is 550. And like, if I were to go to just this, draw the Fibonacci channel just for this range, there's a level down here at $5.11. And if you go to the ascending support and say like, oh my God, it's going to come all the way down there, maybe you get like that like exaggerated move. They're already releasing the bearish narratives to kind of, they're lining it up. They're saying BlackRock and JP Morgan are cutting their investments, et cetera, et cetera. I've seen this baloney narratives that come out as the price comes down. They always do that, and they need you guys out. Just look at the weekly. It's so incredible. Something big is coming. We have that higher high. We have another higher low coming. I don't think the bottom is in. And anyone who says once it breaks below 6, and there are some people in the NIO community who are saying, well, it's over. I'm super bearish if it breaks 6. I challenge them. Chart SoFi, chart Robinhood, chart all these other stocks where they've had these retracements down into the golden pocket. And again, where is the golden pocket for this thing? That is not dangerous. Like, this thing is barely giving you like a pullback. Like 654, next big level for this big move is 576, and then 520, and even 450. Those are all, even if you got that move, I want you guys to know from a structural perspective, that is not bearish. That's just like expected. Those are expected moves where you're going to go down that low before you push higher. And if that's the case, let's just play devil's advocate. Even if it dropped to 456, that's your absolute bottom. Look where it goes. At minimum, $9.40, $10, $12, $17. You can see some pretty significant moves. This is still the cup and handle. There's your cup. I'm drawing it for you. There's your cup. And we're building out the handle. We're building out that handle. Okay, it's not going to take that long. I got the timing wrong. It's going to be towards, I believe it's going to be towards Christmas. Where are we? Right around there. However long it goes, and however low it goes. I think that's what's going to be. And when it goes back above your measured move, by the way, when it breaks above this, just from a cup and handle perspective, you take the top and bottom to measure a cup and handle. You take it from the top, you measure from the bottom. It's like a $4 move from the original top, or so almost a $5 move. You go to the top, and you get approximately $19, and even $12.46 if it only gets halfway. If it gets halfway, if it even makes half of this move, you get 12 and 19. Like, that's the measured move. Okay. I think I am talking a little too much about NIO. Let's move on to Baba, Baidu, KWeb, and JD. We'll talk about the US dollar. We'll talk about the Hang Seng index, and then we'll try and wrap up the video here. Alibaba's down too. even more than NIO. Like that's awesome. Like, I mean, it's not awesome, but it's like, it's letting you know, like, NIO's not going down on its own because like BlackRock or JP Morgan's kind of like the whole market's dropping. You shouldn't worry about that. Like, that's just a correction. Corrections are healthy. They happen actually. And so it looks like BABA from a 24-hour time frame, it's the same. It's not quite the same setup. BABA doesn't have the same bullish setup here, but it is making still lower lows on the two, which means sellers still haven't gotten tired yet. 4 hours. Yeah, this thing is just kind of just dragging a little bit. And I almost feel like that retest is coming right to 135, 140. A little bit lower for BABA, but I'm still overall bullish as I go into the weekly. We're still getting higher highs and higher lows. We're above the 200-day moving average. It did make a lower low on the it did make a lower low on the velocity where buyers got a little exhausted there, rightfully so. It made a 80% rally, and it's basically setting up to make another higher high. And you want to know the sick part for BABA? If you're a BABA holder, it's got that rare setup on the weekly where if it does break above that, look at this trend line. It's so beautiful. That if it does, and you get that continuation, maybe it bottoms 135 and then you get it, you're gonna get into 270, 250. I truly believe that. That's coming. And BABA is gonna eventually make the monster cup and handle. The monster cup and handle. That's the end goal for BABA. If you're a BABA holder, there's your monster goal. And that's the same thing for NIO. NIO eventually, give it enough time, it's gonna make the monster cup and handle. That's your long term like projection actually, for NIO, and that's your full on recovery back to all time highs, back to like, and your measured move. Like if it's just ridiculous. So the potential is there. You just gotta just hang tight. Baidu, 24-hour time frame. Actually, it's shockingly, I had some drawings from last week. It's holding okay. It's still making higher highs and higher lows. It looks to be coiling and rolling over below the 200-day moving average. I don't want to say it's over, but I made a lower low, but then I made a higher high. Is it going to make a higher low here? It could. Maybe Baidu is a leader here and takes the lead. I don't think so. I think what will most likely happen, it'll all follow together. I think it's coiling. It's going to consolidate. And you see this on many stocks where you get like a range that it consolidates in. It consolidates and then they bring it down into that manipulative level, which will probably be like where it fills the gap. And they'll go like this and it'll bring it down. You'll get your bottom. You'll get your rally. Something like that. How does that look like? Something like that. You know, leading you into what? Where does that lead you into? I just kind of freestyled it, and it just so happened I kind of timed it out to being around December, January. KWeb, it's still making higher lows. KWeb has that rare setup. It's still holding a higher lows. It's all the way at the midline, and it's interesting. It's actually potentially forming a bullish divergence. I think everything is worth a bounce here for China. I think the sell-off is excessive. JD, the worst performer out of all of them, actually has made a new low. Not to actually get too bad. Don't get upset if you're a JD holder and be scared about it, because it's doing something that it hasn't done in a very long time. It's made its lower low on the 200-day moving average. It's forming a higher low. So yeah, while the price is making a lower low, notice it's got that ascending support. It likely will drop and find support right around 28.15. Likely what you're going to get, whether it bounces and finds that bottom, is you'll get that first big move for JD. And what that would be is that would be a higher low that could be forming. And I believe that actually could be forming here for JD. Now, because on the 24-hour time frame, JD is below now the midline. It's the most bearish chart amongst all of the Chinese stocks. It doesn't mean it's like game over, but traditionally when you're below the 200-day moving average, any move you get is a counter trend rally. Like even here, we got some big moves on JD, but those got sold off until you kind of gotten above that. Now the weekly is interesting. It's trying to hang on. And it broke back below. So you can clearly see this ascending support here in JD. JD is not quite ready actually here, but at some point in time here, you're going to get that break along with the rest of China. And I do believe JD is going to be poised once it bottoms, along with everything else. I think it'll get that move into $40. It'll come up. It'll retest this trend line. You'll get that big move, and it's going to start like, you know, that bigger rally, and you're going to really start to see some action. And I think that would be the recovery story for JD. Let's quickly go into the Hang Seng Index. Hang Seng Index, it's actually doing decent. It's holding above the midline here on the, let's go to the 24. I'm on the weekly. And we actually have a breakout. It actually broke out the Hang Seng Index. It's above the midline, made a higher low, made a higher high. If I didn't know if I wasn't feeling like the timing wise was so off, I'm suspecting you're going to get a retest here up to 2,800, which could be a nice big move for China, like a 5-6% move. Like that to me is a breakout. You have the lower high, the breakout, and you're above the midline. There's going to be a magnet up here, and it might want to retest 2,800. This is very bullish. It broke above the 200-day moving average. Like this is very, very bullish. I didn't look at this before doing my analysis on NIO, but this is tremendous. And I've talked about this before, where the top would come in on Hang Seng Index, and it would come in approximately right around this level. If Hang Seng does give you that explosive move, if it does, your top will come right around there. And I can honestly see that going to 30. Now, if it does that, maybe your bottom's in. Maybe your bottom's in on NIO. I don't want to say it's not, but maybe it is. Could that be the bottom? It might be. But for me to actually get bullish, I need to see this break. So we could still get a rally, and it would look like this. And that's going to be like, all right, let's go. And I showed this to you on AMD, right? Like, how do we know when the bottom is in again? I showed this to you guys. We get the break first on that 200-day moving average. That's signaling that momentum has shifted and the bulls have taken over. Right now, they haven't actually. And that's why I kind of stay cautious, actually. Although the Hang Seng Index, wow, that's going to be a nice tailwind for all Chinese equities because it looks great. It looks amazing. It's above the 200-day moving average. When I look at the weekly, you know, you got to look. It could give you maybe a double top, maybe, and then it wants to drop again. I don't know. We're gonna have to play this by ear. Actually, it's very, very, very interesting, to say the least. Actually, it's beautiful. Let's see if the US dollar gives us any more hints or tips. So on the weekly, we did get a move up into 100, and now it looks like it seems to be coming back down. Now, on the 24-hour time frame, it is holding above the midline, which usually means higher highs and higher lows. And if that's the case, did it break that high? It did break this high. It's almost like a cup and handle that's forming here for the US dollar, like a little mini cup and handle. It's something to take a look at. I do believe it's not, we're not out of the woodworks completely yet. Let's see. Did it break this support? It's hanging on. You might see that rally. What we want to see, if you're a bull, you want to see it come in and make a lower high and break down further. So long as it holds, I guess, that low, it's making a higher low, and then everything else can actually melt up. So it is something to look out, but it's concerning that we're still above the 200-day moving average. But I do believe it is a counter trend rally on the weekly. It's eventually you're going to lose that move. It is something to be concerned about. And for anyone who's in Bitcoin, you can see like on this trend line, it's very close to the midline support around 92,000. I think you could get that retest around 117 is coming. If you go in the 2-hour time frame, you already have, I already posted this chart, but you already have 2 breakouts. I'm just talking about Bitcoin because it's funny. China's down, so is Bitcoin. There's like some correlation there. We're going to go, are we on the regular scale? We are on the regular scale. We'll go 4 hours on the Bitcoin, and I'm going to try and show this as best as I can. Now look where it's bouncing every single time. Bounces. It's bouncing here, and it's bouncing. Now what this actually is, if I were to take out the drawing and show you what this looks like this, okay? And show arrows. Arrows makes more sense, is you do have a breakout, but sometimes when you get a breakout, it consolidates and drives itself down lower, which is what it's doing. And when this consolidation is over, you get the continuation move. And that's your second trend line, which you can draw it right here. And you can already see that it tried breaking out again on that second trend line, which is tremendous. I think like you could very well have actually bottomed here. And if you're into cryptocurrency, which could actually tie into China and tie into the equities, you want it to see a break above 90. Am I drawing this right? Let me draw this right. A break above 97. That could be it. That could be your signal where you could get above, back up and retest that 116 level, 117 level, and potentially on its way to 160 if it does want to give you that big melt up move that everybody's talking about. But that's it. That sums up my analysis. This video is getting a little bit too long. If there's any big takeaway here, is that this type of pullback, it's a healthy pullback. We're still pretty early. It's day 42, so we don't need to get don't get too rattled about that. And just stay patient. So far, I don't see any signs that the bottom is truly in, specifically on NIO, but I do see some promising things on the Chinese equities and potentially Bitcoin. So that could be some nice tailwinds for all of y'all. So I'll stay tuned until next week. We got to manage this on a week-by-week basis. The biggest signal that you want to wait for, which I will be posting, is going to be this. This is the signal. You want your bat signal? It's this. When we get this big move, I drew this up, by the way, but when we get this move and we get this break, that's it. It's game time. And you wouldn't be wanting to buy the breakout. You want to get the pullback. And the reason for that, take a look at AMD again. I bring it back to AMD. When that thing was game time, it broke out and gave you a pullback. That pullback actually made lower lows. So it could be tricky. And again, that took how long did that take? That took a while. That took 140 days. I'm not saying that NIO will take that long. In fact, I don't think it will. I think it'll be less time than that. But I do see that possibly happening. And so to wrap it up, say the bottom comes in at Christmas. Your next 3-month rally will lead you right into March, but much more exaggerated, right? That's it. That sums up my video. I hope there was some positive takeaways here as to what you guys have seen. If you have any questions, drop it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for everybody who's been watching my video, supporting it. Don't forget, if you enjoyed the video, to smash a thumbs up button. And if you're brand new here, don't forget to subscribe to get updates. That's it. That's all. Don't forget to go for your daily walks, you guys. The stock market can stress you out. Your investments can stress you out. That will take a toll. If you want to be in this long term and you don't want to do damage to yourself, get outside, get some fresh air, go for a walk. Keep yourself moving. You can thank me after. Go for it. Let me know how you feel after you go for a walk. I want to hear some people telling me like how they feel after going for some walks. All right. That's it, guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. You guys all take care. Cheers.